Hi there. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm so glad that you're here, and it's always such an honor to get to share in time and space together. So thanks for showing up. My name is Michelle, and today I'll be facilitating a trauma-sensitive yoga offering. And if you're interested in learning more about trauma-sensitive yoga, or even a specific type of trauma-sensitive yoga called TCTSY, please feel free to check out some of the introduction videos on the channel. They'll be able to give some more background and specific details about trauma-sensitive yoga for you. For your practice today, if you'd like to have anything in particular, a special type of items or props that you might want to have available for your practice, please feel free to take some time to gather those for yourself and bring them to your space so they're available for you to use. I have a blanket that I might choose to use today. And then a little note I like to offer is that I'll pretty much wrap up the video at the end with a closing well wishes offering to you, and then pretty much end the video there. That way you can continue on into your day, maybe with any sense or state that you might develop for yourself during your practice. So a little note I like to offer kind of at the beginning here is just about, if you connect with this content in any way and feel called to share it in any type of capacity or interact with it in any type of capacity, whether that's liking the video, maybe sharing the link with someone in your community, maybe interacting with some of the other links in the notes of the video, other resources that I have there for you. Any sort of interaction at all, if you feel called to, is so greatly appreciated. That is a way to maybe provide wider access to this type of content of trauma-sensitive yoga. So if you feel called to, please feel free to do so. Always up to you, and I am so appreciative of your consideration of that. All right, so whenever you might feel ready to begin, you might begin to arrive into your space, into your time, this time that you carved out in your day for you and your practice. Maybe arriving in your body in any way that feels interesting to you. Maybe that looks like settling into a specific shape. You might have a shape that you're already oriented in that interests you. A possibility could be to start to move your body in some way. You might know a particular way you'd like to start to move your body, or one possibility of moving your body, if you're interested, could be to shift from side to side. One possibility of moving your body could be to shift from side to side in any shape that you might be oriented in. So maybe you choose to shift from side to side. Another possibility of movement, if you're interested, could be to add neck movement to your body. One option or way that you could choose to move your neck could be to tilt your head from side to side. Another option that you might explore, if you're interested in neck movement, could be to drop your chin in the middle and then maybe rolling your head side to side. So there's two different options of neck movement if you're interested in that. One might be tilting your head side to side. Another could be dropping your chin in the middle and rolling your head side to side. You might know a different way that you'd like to move your neck and your head that you might explore. And if you're choosing to move your body in some way, maybe noticing sensation. That sensation that you could notice might be where your body is interacting with the surfaces beneath you, maybe noticing where your body's making contact with those surfaces. Or perhaps another sensation that you could notice could be internal, inside your body. Maybe noticing your muscles. And you might notice or discover that you'd like to stay with a certain movement or possibility to shift to something different. Maybe you're interested in some movements for your spine. And two shape options that you could start with. One could be perhaps a rounding shape. So you might round your spine, maybe tucking your chin. If you're interested in a different shape or movement for your spine, you might round your spine, tucking your chin. Or another shape option could be lengthening and extending, maybe lifting your chin as you might lengthen your spine. Possibility to explore one of those two shapes if you're interested, or a third option could be to move between those shapes, maybe moving back and forth between rounding and lengthening your spine. Maybe finding your own rhythm or pace of movement. You're in charge of the speed that you move if you're choosing to move. And if you're interested, another possibility you could layer in could be to notice your breath. Maybe noticing possible sensation as you breathe. Or if you're choosing to move between arching and rounding your spine, you might even choose to link your breath with your movement. And maybe finding your own rhythm. Maybe inhaling one way and exhaling the other way. And you might decide or discover that you'd like to stay with a certain movement, whether you're trying one of these shapes out or whether you're trying something completely different. And if you're interested in a different possibility of a different shape, opportunity to maybe explore a standing shape and adding in some potential movements from standing. If you're interested in moving to a standing shape, you might begin to move your body in your own way and in your own time, potentially bringing your feet to the surface of the space that you're in. Maybe as you arrive in your standing position or standing shape, there's certain movements that you naturally or feel called to make that you might explore. One way that you might move when you come to standing could be to roll your ankles. Maybe you pick up one of your feet and roll one of your ankles, maybe one at a time, or maybe from side to side. Another option of movement from standing could be to lift your knees, maybe one at a time. Maybe you start on one side and choose to lift one knee at a time, lifting any amount. Maybe you try out lifting your knee on your other side. Or maybe you're choosing to lift up one foot and roll out your ankle, maybe making circular movements with your foot. Or you might discover a different way that you'd like to move from a standing shape as you arrive in your own time and in your own way. And you might discover that you'd like to stay with a certain movement from standing, or if you're interested in trying out something different, you might explore maybe adding some space between your feet, kind of oriented here towards the long edge of your mat if you're using a mat, or long edge of your space. And then perhaps from this standing position, maybe some space between your feet, any amount of space there, you might explore the option of a side bend. So in your own time, you might begin to lean towards one side, maybe extending one of your arms overhead as you might lengthen one side of your body, perhaps leaning to one side. You might choose to keep your legs potentially lengthened here, or an option while you're in your side bend could be to bend your knees, sinking your hips down any amount. You might even bring your heels in and your toes out for your feet positioning, or you might keep your feet in the same position. Maybe you choose to explore your side bend on one side for a duration of time, And at any time you feel interested in exploring your side bend on your other side, you might switch sides in your own time and in your own way. Maybe you choose to keep your legs lengthened, or you might bend your knees, sinking your hips down. Maybe staying in your side stretch and stillness on one side. Or another option could be to move from side to side. Maybe adding some movement side to side in this standing position. You might alternate, finding your own rhythm. You're in charge of the speed or pace that you might choose to go if you're choosing to move. You're in charge on if you choose to move or if you choose to find a shape and stay in stillness. You also get to choose what you do with your body, whether you're choosing to explore some of these shape options or whether you're choosing to try out something completely different. So maybe you're exploring movement side to side. Maybe you're exploring stillness on one side. You might discover that you like to stay with something here, or a possibility to shift to something different, perhaps with a forward fold option. If you'd like to try out a forward fold, you might still keep your feet in the same positioning, and at any time you're ready to, you might begin to hinge and fold forward any amount. Perhaps finding a forward fold. Maybe you choose to stay at center, kind of dangling your arms and your head. You might keep any amount of bend in your knees that feels interesting to you. You might choose to stay at center in stillness in your forward fold, with maybe some space between your feet. If you like to have something under your hands, you could always bring any sort of item or prop in that you might like to use. Or a possibility of adding movement in your forward fold with a twist from side to side. If you'd like to explore that option, you might extend one of your arms, maybe up towards the sky, any amount. Staying for a duration of time if you're interested, or you might begin to flow side to side. Maybe bringing your one hand back down and then extending your other arm up towards the sky, any amount. Maybe twisting from side to side. Maybe twisting from side to side in your forward fold. That's an option for movement here. Or you might discover a different way that you'd like to experience your forward fold. Maybe discovering that you'd like to stay with a certain option, whether that's movement or stillness. Or if you're interested in trying something different, you might eventually come up to your standing shape in your own time, maybe lifting your torso up in your own way, in your own time. And you might begin to explore a different option of a forward fold with one foot forward and one foot back. So you might orient your hips to be facing the short edge of your mat if you're using a mat, or the short edge of your space. And then bringing maybe one foot forward, stepping one foot back. You might keep your front leg long. And then if you'd like to explore a forward fold from this positioning of your feet, you might begin to fold forward in your own time and in your own way. Maybe your hands and arms dangling. You might keep a soft bend in your knee. You might choose to stay in stillness in this fold option. Maybe you notice a difference of sensation somewhere in your body. Maybe you don't notice much of a difference at all as you might change shapes. Opportunity to explore if you're interested to.
So maybe you choose to stay in a fold at your center, or a different shape option in this fold position could be to add a rotation or twist by maybe lifting one of your arms. Maybe you choose to lift your arm that's on the same side as your leg that's forward. You can also explore either side, either arm. Maybe exploring a twist option, maybe exploring a forward fold at center over your front leg. You might stay for a duration of time. Maybe you choose to stay on the same side, or if you'd like to try out your other side, you could always switch your feet in your own time. You might even lift your torso back up to standing, and then you might switch your feet, bringing your other foot forward and stepping your other foot back. Maybe keeping your front leg long, perhaps a slight bend in your knee, and you might fold forward in your own time and in your own way. Maybe dangling your arms. You could also add in any props that you might like to use. And you might stay in your forward fold on your next side at center, or you might add in your option of a rotation or twist by maybe extending one of your arms up towards the sky. Maybe you choose to extend your arm that's on the same side as your leg that's forward as an option. You might find a certain spot for your gaze, whether you choose to look up or down or in a different position. Your top arm could even stay extended, or you could bring your arm behind you. You might know a different way that you'd like to explore this forward fold shape if you're trying it out. Always freedom to try something completely different altogether as well. And you might discover you'd like to stay with one of these options, maybe exploring your forward fold on one side of your body. Or if you'd like to move into something different, option to try out an upside down V shape. So you might plant your hands on the earth here on your mat if you're already in your forward fold, and then you might step your front foot back, maybe beginning to make an upside down V shape with your body. Perhaps bringing your heels towards the earth, maybe dropping your head. If you're exploring this upside down V shape option and like to add the option of movement, one way you could move in your upside down V shape could be to bend one of your knees and extend your other leg and maybe shift from side to side. Maybe bending one knee and then your other knee from side to side. Another option of movement in your upside down V shape could be to bend both of your knees towards the earth, any amount, and then you might re-extend your legs. So you might bend and extend your legs, maybe both together or one at a time. And maybe a third option could be to lift your heels, coming onto the balls of your feet, and then maybe bringing your heels back down towards the earth. So perhaps 3 different options of movement in your upside down V shape if you're interested. Maybe bending and extending your knees one at a time. Or you might bend your knees together and then re-extend your legs. Or maybe you lift your heels and then bring your heels back down towards the earth. And maybe you discover something you'd like to stay with. Or if you'd like to try something different or shift to something different, you might begin to bring your knees down to the earth, maybe on your mat. If you like to eventually maybe find a seated shape, moving in your own time, in your own way, or perhaps before you might move to seated, another option if you bring your knees down to your mat could be to sink your hips back any amount, maybe walking your hands forward as you might bring your heart towards the earth. So you might instead maybe explore this option, maybe sinking your hips back any amount, walking your hands forward. You might explore stillness here, or option of adding movement of maybe swaying or rocking your hips side to side. Or a different option of movement in this shape could be to walk your hands off to one side, maybe offering a side stretch on one side of your body, staying for a duration of time before you might walk your hands over to your other side. If you're choosing to walk your hands off to one side, maybe you notice sensation on the side of your body, that you might be lengthening. Or perhaps there isn't much to notice as well. You might decide or discover that you'd like to stay with one of these options. Or if you're interested in trying something different, you might begin to make your way into any seated shape. Perhaps with the option of some abdominal engagement, if you're interested, as maybe a final shape option here for this practice. If you're interested in exploring some abdominal engagement from a seated position, maybe you choose a seated position with your feet on the earth or on your surface that you're at. Your hands may be planted behind you, and maybe you lengthen your spine. Maybe noticing, if you're trying this shape out, different muscles in your center, in your abdomen, that could be contracting or engaged here in this seated shape. Maybe noticing sensation, maybe in your abdomen muscles, maybe noticing sensation somewhere else, and maybe that's inside your body, or maybe that's with where your body is connected to the surface beneath you. You might say here, if you're interested in movement in this seated shape, again, maybe adding some more abdominal engagement opportunity, you could bring your hands behind your thighs, and then you might begin to round your spine, maybe leaning back any amount, maybe tucking your chin, and then you might lengthen your spine, maybe lifting your chin. And you might alternate moving between these shapes, maybe rounding your spine and then lengthening your spine. Your hands might be holding on behind your thighs, behind your legs. So you might be choosing stillness in your seated shape, maybe with your feet planted and your hands planted. Or you might choose movement with rounding your spine and then lengthening your spine. If you're interested in noticing your breath, you might notice your breath as you might be breathing in stillness or as you might be moving your body. Maybe noticing sensation as you breathe, or maybe not. You might not notice much sensation as you breathe. You might not be interested in noticing sensation in your body. You might instead be interested in maybe noticing or bringing attention to the shape itself, the movement itself, and the choices that you have. And you might discover that you'd like to stay with something here, or in your own time, in your own way, you might begin to maybe offer yourself any other movements or shapes that you might like to try out or explore to complete your practice today. Maybe there's certain shapes that you'd like to revisit or certain movements you'd like to revisit. Maybe you'd like to try out something new that you might not have tried in your practice yet. So you might receive some time to explore any other movements or shapes that you might like to try out.
before you might eventually transition in your own time, in your own way, to any shape that you might be interested in closing your practice in, or maybe engaging in the opportunity of rest. So maybe finding a shape that you might be interested in exploring rest in. And for you, that might look like a specific type of shape. Maybe it's a shape lying on your back. Maybe it's a shape on your side or your front body. Maybe it's a standing shape. Or maybe for you, it looks more like movement. Maybe there's some movement that you add into your body, maybe swaying or rocking. Maybe that's where you'd like to complete your practice today, or experiment rest in some way. And maybe as you arrive, but you might arrive in any way that's interesting to you. You might notice the contact that your body's making with the surface beneath you. You might notice the senses in your body, maybe bringing you into this present moment. Right here in your body, in this space that you've made for yourself. You also might not be interested in noticing any of those things. Maybe you're not interested in noticing sensation or noticing your senses. Maybe instead you're interested in noticing the particular shape that you're in, or the choices you have, or maybe something completely different. Maybe allowing yourself the opportunity to experiment with rest if you're interested, and to offer some space for that opportunity. I'll be silencing my voice for 30 seconds. So I'll offer 30 seconds of silence from my voice, which I'll use a timer for. At the end of that 30 seconds, I will let you know that it is complete by returning again with my voice before a final close of your practice here today. And that 30 seconds of silence can begin now. Thirty seconds has passed. If you're interested in noticing your breath, you might begin to draw your attention to your inhale and exhale. Maybe you start to notice where your body makes connection with the surfaces beneath you. Maybe you choose to connect back in with your senses, maybe noticing sounds that surround you, or what you might feel on the surface of your skin. Maybe honoring that you are here. Honoring that you made a variety of different choices, maybe based on what you felt, maybe based on what you wish to explore. If you'd like to, you might allow in an offering of gratitude for yourself, for showing up for you today, for being here with you this whole time. If you're interested in affirmations or I am statements, As I say these next I am statements, you might repeat them to yourself, maybe in your mind or your heart if you'd like to. I am alive. I am healing. I am free. I am alive. I am healing. I am free. In your own time and in your own way, you might begin to transition back into your day, receiving all the time that you need. Thank you so much for sharing in this time and space together. And even though we are practicing apart, we are still here together in community. Thank you so, so much. And I am always wishing you well.